What are your thoughts on what the NBA looks to be doing to Russell Westbrook?
Kev, I'm not going to get any satisfaction by saying this, but I'm just going to try to paint a picture that coincides with the reality here. I think Russell Westbrook's NBA career is pretty much coming to an end. And when it comes to Russell Westbrook, look, we're talking about probably the most athletic point guard I've ever seen. Now, is he the best point guard I've ever seen? No. But just from a pure athleticism perspective, the amount of force that he would bring was unlike anything that I had seen. Maybe Derrick Rose was similar in nature, but Derrick Rose blew out his knees. He was never the same. And even despite that, Russell had some knee injuries as well. Just the amount of power that he would bring driving down the lane and just the overall ferocity that he would bring to the rim on some of those dunks back in the day. It really was a sight to behold, especially when he was running and gunning with Kevin Durant. But I think at this point, I don't think we're going to see too much of Russell Westbrook from here on out. Maybe that there's a possibility that he could play for a playoff team this upcoming playoff run if a team needs an emergency pickup and they look to Russell for his services to come off the bench. But I think Russell is on a very similar track to what Carmelo Anthony was faced with a couple years back. There were a couple years where everybody knew that Carmelo should probably be on an NBA team, but a lot of NBA teams had moved on from the possibility of bringing him on. And then he came back, played with the Portland Trail Blazers, played with the Los Angeles Lakers, had some decent moments here and there, but it was nothing like what he was doing back when he was a member of the Denver Nuggets and the New York Knicks during his heyday. And honestly, Russell Westbrook's in that situation as well. Obviously, with him going to be bought out eventually by the Utah Jazz, more than likely they're going to move off of him. It's just a matter of when, because it doesn't serve Utah's interest to carry on that contract as far as I see it. But overall, I just don't really see Russell getting a lot of use from here on out. I think at this point, like I said, I think maybe if a team needs an emergency pickup, they could look at him. But I think there's going to be a very real chance that if we go into this offseason and Russell's not getting any calls, it may be a while before we see Russell Westbrook back in the NBA. And that's despite the fact that, like Kev said in the lead up, he was one of the best players that the Lakers had coming off of the bench. But the Lakers were always looking to move off from him because they just weren't willing to stick with that contract. And no wonder. I mean, Russell Westbrook was getting paid upwards of $40 to $45 million a year, if not damn $50 million. And with the diminishing returns that he was providing, albeit he is 34 years old, this isn't like 24, 25-year-old Russell Westbrook anymore. Not a lot of teams are going to be really excited to bring a guy like that into the fold, especially when you know that his skill set is just not there compared to where it used to be. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a pessimistic view on Russell Westbrook here, but I think it really kind of goes along with what I see in reality. And to be quite honest with you, I think when we're looking at Russell Westbrook, I think his career is pretty much over. I mean, maybe he might have a little stint here and there, but I think this is pretty much it for him. Especially if Shams is basically saying that there's really no place for him to go if Utah decides to buy him out, which I think is more than likely going to happen fairly soon because they're basically deciding to go with just their younger core of players, and I don't blame them. So it's kind of an unfortunate situation for Russ, excuse me, but I think that's just where things stand. Honestly, I think it's just as simple as that.
I mean, I'm not going to go as far as saying that I think he'll be out of the league. I think that Shams may be speaking a little bit prematurely just because we don't know the status of the buyout. We do know that at the trade deadline, when they let him go to Utah, that there were two teams that were particularly interested if he hit the buyout market, and that were the Miami Heat and the LA Clippers. Both teams are poised to be in the playoff run for the remainder of the season, unless, barring any major injuries to their star players. Um, I think Russell Westbrook would fit fairly well, specifically in the Clippers organization. And the only reason why is because Reggie Jackson got traded and he got bought out, and now he's a member of the Nuggets. And then John Wall got traded back to Houston, and he's about to be bought out again by Houston, which is hysterical in and of itself because I believe in the last 2 years alone, I think John Wall's made over $50 million just from Houston buying him out. And this will be the second time he's bought out. So again, it's hilarious that that's how it worked out. But I think they need a point guard. And I think that with him being familiar and comfortable with coming off of the bench now, he's well past that point of just being a starter. I think that that would be the best situation for him to come into that second unit and help lead that unit for when Kawhi and PG are off the floor. We know that Terrence Mann has emerged as a decent offensive player as well. And they have a couple of other players like Norman Powell and some other people. But if he were to kind of lead that unit, I think that that would elevate the Clippers' level of play because for whatever reason, John Wall just hasn't been the same since all the injuries, the COVID year, and all the different things he's been through. So that didn't work out when they signed him this offseason. And for whatever reason, Russell is just, I believe, still a faster player, a more athletic player, and somebody who has shown in stretches that he can still carry an offense, at least the second unit offense, because he was in the running for Sixth Man of the Year. He still has gas in the tank. I would agree to an extent about the Carmelo thing. Carmelo was blackballed. We still don't know why. We don't understand if people thought he was washed. We don't understand if it was because he struggled in his last couple of teams before he went to Portland. But we all know that Russell can still hoop. We all know that Russell can still jump out of the gym. We all know that he has great court vision. He's one of the best passing point guards that we've seen in some time as well. Mr. Triple Double. He can give you 15, 5, and 5, and not a lot of backups can do that at a consistent clip like Russell would be able to do. I think his issue is his attitude and mentality. I want to play more. With him having friction with the Lakers head coach just right before he got traded, I think that that is going to pose to be an issue as well because of the narrative that he brings along with him, the baggage, the mentality, the attitude, and just all those other things. I don't think people want to bring him on because they already have their set squads and they don't want him to ruin the chemistry. They always joke about that clip where LeBron James and Devin Ham or what's their head coach's name? I keep forgetting.
Darvin Ham.
Darvin Ham. I keep forgetting Devin and Darvin. Darvin Ham was saying, we got to win this, that, and the third. And then like LeBron James snaps his head real quick and Russell's like, just have fun though. And like, it's funny, but at the same time, it goes to show the conflicts that certain people are having. Like the Lakers are still under 500 and they're talking about got to win, got to capitalize. And Russ is like, yeah, we got to have fun too. We're talking about professional sports here. Yes, it's supposed to be fun, but this is a job that you get paid to do, and what you get paid to do is win. If you're having fun and losing by 15, I don't think you're doing your job correctly. So correct me if I'm wrong. Fun is included because you're playing a game for a career, but in reality, if you're not winning, I don't necessarily know if fun is going to be equivalated with losing. So to each his own. I'll end it with this. We know that Russell Westbrook can still play basketball. At a high level, no. At an average level, I would say no. I think he's kind of still in that teetering where he can give you a good, like I said, 15 to 20 points off the bench on any given night if given the right opportunity in the right situation. So if he goes to LA, I think he'd be perfect there, which would be hilarious to just play on the opposite locker room or never technically have to leave LA because he's from California. But Miami, not so much. I think they have too many underlying issues as it is. Inconsistency with shooters. Duncan Robinson can't defend. Jimmy Butler's been in and out of the lineup. Kyle Lowry's not panning out. They have a lot of other issues themselves. I think, like I said, the Clippers would just be the best fit because they can defend, and him running the second unit just makes the most sense for me.